welcome to PRC Foundation. How are you? I hope you're very well. Today, we're gonna discuss the critical summary of the novel Beloved, written by Toni Morrison. At the very outset of my lecture, I would like to inform you that for discussing any novel, I divide my lecture into two parts. At the first part, I discuss the characters, themes, settings, etc. And in the second part, I discuss the critical summary of the novel. So let us start our discussion. First of all, we need to know what's the life duration of Toni Morrison. The life duration of Toni Morrison from 1931 to present. Why I am informing you that Toni Morrison's life duration is from 1931 to present, because I am delivering this lecture on 31st December 2018. For this, Toni Morrison's life duration is present because Toni Morrison is still alive. But whenever you will view this lecture after 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years, you have to check the life duration of Toni Morrison. Okay, this is very critical. This is very important. This is a very big plot. This is a very big story. If you want to remember this story, if you want to pick up this story very easily, you have to be very critical, you have to be very technical. Otherwise, you can't remember this story at all. For this reason, I have divided this story into several parts so that you can pick up this story very easily, very simply, very smoothly. Okay? So first of all, I want to say you that you have to remember the beginning part or the introductory part of the novel. What has been told in the beginning part or in the introductory part of the novel. There is a house on Bluestone Road 124. Okay, and the natural beauty of the house, there is a pond, there are a number of trees such as mulberry and so on, and near to the house there is a tomb or grave, and on the head side of the grave or tomb there is a tombstone, and on the tombstone a name has been carved, Beloved. Okay, and this name Beloved is very significant in this novel because the novelist has named after her novel after this name. I think this name is very significant for especially three reasons. First of all, Beloved represents the helplessness of a lady. Beloved represents the power of slavery, legacy of slavery. Once again, I am telling you, Beloved represents the power of legacy of slavery. Beloved represents supernatural element. Okay, that's why the name Beloved is very important in this novel. Beloved, how the name Beloved is helpless. Beloved is helpless for two reasons. First of all, slavery, and second one, the losing chastity of the central character of the novel. Whenever Setha killed her child, she was very helpless because she escaped from the plantation, and after spending 28 days freely, she was cast out by her old or previous master, and for this she would take shelter on woodshed with her children. But there she killed her 2-year child for so that the children could not be slapped anymore. She preferred killing her child to seeing them as slap. That is why. But whenever her master noticed that Beloved is not fit for the work, he left her and went back to his plantation in Kentucky, Sweet Home Plantation. And the name Beloved is also significant for losing chastity, because Siti wanted to remember her daughter, and for this she wanted to carve a name on the tombstone, but she wasn't much money for this. She had to engage herself in sexual intercourse for the 7 letters for 10 minutes. How brutality the slavery system is. Can you imagine it? Can you feel it? Can you explain it in words? This is very much heterogeneous, hateful, loathsome. Okay? And you know what? In Indian subcontinent, the British dominated us 190 years, but we could not do anything against that power because they had technique, they had the brain, they had the evil brain for this. We couldn't do anything. So slavery is more brutal than the dominating condition of Indian subcontinent, right? So here, this is the introductory part of the novel. Now, whenever the novel is started, we can divide the part into two parts. First of all, we have to look at the flashbacks of the major characters, and we have to look at the present condition of Setha's struggling, sufferings, and so on. So first of all, we need to look at the flashback of Setha. Whenever Setha was brought to Sweet Home Plantation by Mr. Garner, she was only 13 years old. And she did not know that she was in agreement. She was not only the slave for Mr. Garner, but her generations must be the slave for Mr. Garner's. That means her children, her children's children, her children's children's, all will be the slave. That is slavery. Can you imagine? A person after coming to this world must have freedom to choose his profession, to choose her profession, but slavery has destroyed all kind of freedom because a slave is slave, and his or her master, whatever wishes he or she must do. That is the brutality of slavery. So there were 5 male slaves as well at Sweet Home Plantation, and they waited for Setha's decision. They wanted to know, they were very curious to know about Setha's marriage decision. They expected that Setha will certainly choose someone for marriage. But frustrating all the 4 slaves, Setha chose Halifax for his extraordinary capacity. What was the extraordinary capacity of Halifax? Because Setha was brought to Plantation Sweet Home to replace baby sex. So baby sex got freedom. Why or how? Because Halifax sacrificed his 5 years for collecting money to make his mother free from slavery, free from the heterogeneous, brutal slavery system. Halifax was to work 6 days in a week for his master, Mr. Garner, and from Monday to Saturday, he was to work at the Sweet Home Plantation. But the Sunday was off day for him, and at every Sunday, long 5 years, he worked outside and collected money and delivered it to his master. You know what Mr. Garner was, or Mr. Garner is sympathetic master. A sympathetic master is such heterogeneous. So the brutal master, how can he be? Can you imagine? Can you describe? Can you illustrate? Can you narrate? You can't imagine. You can't describe. This is bigger description. Okay? So, Siddhi, after getting married with Halifax, they both together got 3 children. 2 are sons and 1 is daughter. The name of their sons, Howard and Bugler, and the daughter name, we can't know it because we cannot know it. Why? Because the novelist hasn't presented the name, but from the Tom Stone, we can learn that the name is Beloved. Okay, the Beloved, story of the Beloved. That is very fantastic name to hear, but behind this name there is brutality, there is suffering, there is, untold story of Setha, right? So now such was the condition, life condition of the slaves, and Setha decided that she must escape from the plantation one day as soon as possible, and for this reason she sent her children by road to her mother-in-law, Babysacks, in Ohio, Cincinnati. Okay, and Setha with with her husband and other slaves escaped one day from Sweet Home plantation. Before there, I can give you another example of brutality of slavery. The schoolmaster whipped Setha. Why? Because Setha's milk was taken from the breast for the heterogeneous experiment of the schoolmaster. Can you imagine it? This is very ridiculous. This is very pathetic one. You can't imagine that. Okay, that was the result of slavery system. A slave is slab. A slab has been divided into two sense. One is animalistic traits, another is humanistic trait. A man can have animalistic trait, animalistic features. Can you imagine it? That is slavery. Okay, so when Setha escaped from the plantation, she was separated from the other slaves, unfortunately. And when she was in the forest, she felt her pregnancy pain, and there she felt very helpless. But Almighty God sent an angel. Why I told you it angel? Because the lady was not a simple lady. That was the gift of Almighty for the helpless person. This is the justification of Almighty. Remember it. Okay, so the name of the lady was Amy Denver. Amy Denver had set up for delivery, and eventually Setha got a daughter, and Setha named the daughter after the name of Annie Denver, and Denver is the result of Amy Denver, because Setha did not want to forget the name Amy Denver. After a long struggle through forest, through frozen river, through under railway ways and concrete roads, Setha reached Cincinnati. But after spending only 28 days, she was thrust out by her master school teacher. And the school teacher went Ohio, Cincinnati to return Setha to the plantation Sweet Home. But Setha was so reluctant, and she took shelter with all her children in woodshed. And there she killed her 2 years old daughter. That is the heterogeneous, painful, very, 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 very painful flashback of Setha. Now, the flashback of Paul D. Paul D. and Sibjo. They were caught by the school teacher when they escaped from the plantation, and they brought back to the plantation. And the school teacher killed Sibjo and sold Paul D to Georgia to another slave owner, and there Paul D had to tolerate a painful torture that is called chain gang torture. That is, can you imagine? A person has been chained up. If you tied up with the rope, you can't tolerate. But a person, an innocent person, because he is slave and he has been chained up. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. This is brutality. This is called brutality, right? So Paul D had to tolerate such kind of pain in Georgia. But Almighty God took pity on Paul D, and by the grace of Almighty, on a rainstorm night, she escaped from Georgia and reaches to Ohio, Cincinnati to meet his fellow slave. And now the novel is start. Whenever Paul D and Setha meets after long 18 years, can you feel that? If you met your colleague, if you met your schoolmates, you met your friends after 18 years, so what will be the situation? You will question that how are you, how is going on, etc. Like that, Paul D and Setha started to converse with each other. But Setha explains her condition, that she is very alone. The community has rejected herself, and her house is ostracized. That is very ridiculous. After hearing all the story, present condition of Setha, Paul D decides that he will make his future with Setha. But there is hindrance. In every way of love, there is hindrance. And here in this novel, the hindrance is the ghost beloved. At the very outset of Paul D's reaching at house 124, Denver becomes satisfied. Because Denver's objection is against her mother that she does not like to stay at this house because no people comes to this house to meet them. For this reason, she wants to go out. She wants to leave that house forever. But Paul D is the only person who has come to meet them. So at the very beginning, Denver is very satisfied. But whenever Denver notices that Paul D is trying to make close relationship with her mother, she is very much resentful, very much negative. So here, avoiding all kind of bitter situations, Paul D and Setha start their life with a new energy. But sir, one day when Setha and Paul D return from carnival, they see that the ghost of beloved is appeared. Before this appearance, the ghost of beloved, nobody can see it. Only they know that beloved works out of water. She takes rest all day and night on the mulberry tree. But today, at the evening, Setha and Paul D see the ghost in body. Okay, and the climax of the novel starts because beloved tortured Paul D, Setha very much, but have a good ties with Denver. Denver and beloved becomes intimate. They become bosom friend. But Setha could tolerate this torture because she feels guilty for killing her daughter at her infancy. Okay, at its infancy. But Paul D could not tolerate it, and Paul D feels very helpless because once he was very much strengthy, but today he can't do anything against a ghost, against a soul. For this, he is feeling very helplessness. Avoiding all these bitter situations, Paul D and Setha live their life. But one day, this situation U-turns. Whenever Paul D is informed by a character named Stampede that Setha killed her little child in 1856, and there is an article in newspaper that after reading that article, Paul D can learn that Setha did the most loathsome, most hateful activity, killing her little child in infancy. And hearing this, knowing this, Paul D becomes very much furious, very much reluctant to stay with Setha, and he leaves Setha and takes shelter on the basement of a church. In absence of Paul D, Setha, beloved, and Denver spent their life very enjoyably. And Setha is trying to convince beloved why she killed her, because she did not want to see her children as slaves, and for this reason she was helpless and she was to kill beloved. But beloved is not convinced because human beings doesn't have right to kill an innocent person. What will be his or her future, it will be decided by Almighty God, but it will not be decided by yourself, by anybody of the society. For this reason, beloved isn't convinced at all. And here, one thing, beloved demands many more things from Setha, dress, etc., etc., etc. Setha becomes very helpless and she could not do anything. The health condition of Setha deteriorates day after day. At this time, Denver shows her vital role, and for the first time after long 7 years, she has come out from her limitation and goes to her school teacher, Lady Jane, and seeks help for her mother. And by this way, Lady Jane accumulate the community, convince the community to rescue Setha from the caustic position and the community comes forward to rescue Setha, and Setha is rescued by the community. After Setha's rescuing, Paul D can also realize that she has made a mistake. He has made a mistake, and he compromised once again with Setha. By this way, the novel ends. Thank you so very much.